Absolutely. Here's a motivational speech titled A Date Night, written in the passionate, empowering, raw, and real style inspired by Sarah Jakes Roberts. But without mentioning her or anyone else directly, tonight I want to talk about date night. But not just the kind with candles and fancy reservations. I'm talking about the sacred moments when you finally take yourself seriously enough to be present with your own soul. So many of us are running after love, attention, success, but when was the last time you sat down with yourself? When was the last time you said, I'm gonna show up for me, like really show up, no distractions, no pretending, no performance. Date night is about being intentional. It's about slowing down enough to recognize that love starts from within. How you love yourself determines how you let others love you. How you spend time with yourself sets the standard for how others will spend time with you. And some of us keep waiting on someone to choose us. But tonight you choose you. Set the table, light the candle. Laugh at your own jokes. Cry if you need to. Dream out loud again. Remind yourself you are still worthy of love, even if no one else is clapping for you right now. Date night isn't about being alone. It's about refusing to abandon yourself. And I believe when you finally start loving yourself the way you were always meant to be loved, the people, the opportunities, the relationships you deserve will find you right where you are. Fully you, fully whole, fully loved. So don't wait. Tonight, love yourself like it's the only thing that matters. Because it is. When we hear the words date night, our minds often rush to images of romantic dinners, sparkling conversations, laughter shared across candlelit tables. But what if I told you that the most important date night you will ever have isn't with someone else? It's with yourself. There is something powerful, almost sacred, about setting aside time to intentionally meet the person you are becoming. It's a meeting between your past battles, your current reality, and your future dreams. It's an appointment that says, I matter enough to sit with me. Many of us have mastered showing up for everyone else. We attend the events, we answer the calls. We comfort the broken, celebrate the victories, wipe the tears. But when was the last time you showed up for your own soul with the same urgency and intentionality? The danger of always being on for others is that we sometimes leave ourselves off the schedule completely. We start living from a place of empty reserves, pouring out of a cup that we never bother to refill. And eventually, we start believing that's just the way life has to be. Constant doing, without pausing to simply be. Date night with yourself disrupts that cycle. It interrupts the busyness that tries to convince you your worth is tied to your productivity. It says, I am worthy of time, even if no one else is asking for it. It carves out space for you to breathe without deadlines, without expectations, without the pressure to perform. It's where you remember that you were a person before you were a provider, a dreamer before you were a doer, a soul before you were a success story. In that sacred space, you allow yourself to be loved, not for what you produce, but for simply existing. There is a version of you that you have not fully met yet. A version that's not tainted by fear or exhausted by striving or hidden behind people pleasing. That version of you is waiting for an invitation to sit at the table of your life and be acknowledged. And the only way you meet her is by being willing to slow down long enough to hear your own heartbeat again. You cannot meet your full self while sprinting. Date night with yourself demands a slowdown, a stillness, a deliberate meeting in the quiet places of your soul. If you don't make an appointment with yourself, life will start deciding your schedule for you. The wrong voices will start telling you who you are. The wrong relationships will start defining your worth. The wrong pressures will start setting your priorities. But when you choose to prioritize yourself, even if it's just for one evening, you reclaim authority over your own narrative. You become the author again, writing chapters filled with peace, presence, and purpose, rather than chaos and codependency. There's healing that only happens in isolation, but not the kind of isolation that's rooted in loneliness, the kind that's rooted in intimacy with yourself, real intimacy with yourself, real intimacy. Sitting with your brokenness without judgment, laughing at your own silly jokes without embarrassment, listening to the whispers of your soul that get drowned out in the noise of daily living, learning to fall in love with your own voice again. Learning that silence doesn't mean absence. Sometimes it's where you hear God the clearest. Think about it. You wouldn't miss a date with someone you deeply love. You wouldn't constantly cancel plans on a person you value. And yet, we do it to ourselves all the time. We break promises to ourselves quietly, telling ourselves a later when what we really mean is never. Every time we delay, we reinforce the idea that our own hearts are negotiable. But tonight, what if you made yourself non-negotiable? What if you dressed up just because? What if you lit a candle not for an event, but because your very existence deserves celebration? This kind of date night isn't about loneliness. It's about love. It's about love. It's about presence. It's about teaching yourself that you are worthy of intentional, beautiful moments, even when no one else is watching. You don't have to wait for someone to call you valuable. You can sit across the table from your own reflection and realize you've been valuable all along. And maybe, just maybe, that realization will change the way you show up in every other area of your life. Self-love is a phrase we hear everywhere now. It's stitched into throw pillows, plastered across social media feeds, painted on coffee mugs. And while those affirmations have their place, while they do speak to something real and necessary, self-love runs much deeper than cute quotes and feel-good mantras. True self-love is not just what you say about yourself when the world is watching. It's how you treat yourself in the unseen moments when nobody is around to clap, when nobody is around to post it or applaud it. Surface-level affirmations are like makeup. They can enhance, they can uplift, they can give you a temporary glow. But intentional presence is like skincare. It requires consistency, patience, honesty. It means showing up on the days when you don't feel beautiful, when you don't feel brave, when you don't feel worthy, and choosing to stay anyway. It's easy to speak love over yourself when everything is going right. But intentional presence means staying committed to yourself even when life feels messy, complicated, or incomplete. Intentional presence means creating space to really listen to yourself. It means asking yourself hard questions like, what do I need right now? And what am I afraid to admit to myself? It's easy to recite affirmations like, I am enough, but do you actually believe it deep down? Presence is where you start to bridge the gap between what you say and what you truly feel. You stop performing for yourself and you start nurturing yourself. You start moving from shallow declarations to a deep relationship with your own heart. Self-love with presence looks like honoring your boundaries, even when it's uncomfortable. It's saying no, not because you want to disappoint others, but because you refuse to abandon yourself. It's choosing rest when your body is screaming for it. It's admitting when you're not okay and giving yourself permission to heal without guilt. Being intentionally present with yourself might not always feel good in the moment, but it always leads to something real, something sustainable, something holy. There are versions of love that are flashy, but fleeting, and there are versions of love that are steady and sacred. Intentional presence builds the steady kind. It's checking in with your emotions instead of running from them. It's sitting in silence with yourself instead of numbing yourself with distractions. It's asking, where does it hurt? And then being patient enough to wait for the answer. It's treating yourself like someone worth loving, not just with pretty words, but with consistent action. Surface level self-love says, I'm doing fine, even when you're breaking inside. Intentional self-love says, I am hurting, but I am here. One demands performance, the other invites healing. One is about image, the other is about intimacy. If you only ever engage yourself on the surface, you will continue to feel disconnected, confused, and unseen, even by your own soul. But when you allow presence to lead, you step into a place where even your flaws and fears are allowed to breathe. Intentional presence also teaches you patience. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, it feels countercultural to sit with yourself without rushing to fix or improve something. But real love, the kind that transforms, is slow. It lingers. It listens longer. It doesn't demand perfection. It simply asks for honesty. When you practice presence with yourself, you learn to love the process, not just the polished result. You learn to value who you are becoming, not just who you already are. Self-love that lives on the surface will crack under pressure. But self-love rooted in presence will endure seasons of loneliness, seasons of uncertainty, seasons of change. It will hold you together when everything else feels like it's falling apart. Because when you have cultivated a real relationship with yourself, you are no longer depending on external validation to feel whole. You become anchored, not by what's happening outside of you, but by the quiet, steady love that's been growing within you all along. Every relationship you have, with friends, with family, with lovers, with colleagues, flows from the relationship you have with yourself. If you do not trust yourself, it will be hard to trust others. Will be hard to trust. If you are harsh and critical toward yourself, it will be difficult to accept kindness without suspicion. If you are unfamiliar with showing yourself grace, you will wrestle to extend it or receive it from anyone else. What you practice internally becomes what you project externally, often without even realizing it. The way you speak to yourself sets the tone for how you allow others to speak to you. If you are constantly tearing yourself down in your own mind, you may become numb to the subtle ways others disrespect you. If you ignore your own needs and silence your own voice, you will begin to normalize relationships that require you to shrink. And sooner or later, you might look around and realize you have taught people how to treat you. Not with malice, but by the silent standard you set for yourself. Loving yourself well doesn't mean you are closed off or unavailable. It means you know what love should feel like. It means you recognize when love feels manipulative instead of nurturing, when it feels controlling instead of freeing. Your relationship with yourself becomes the lens through which you discern who is safe, who is healthy, and who is capable of loving you in a way that honors your humanity. Without that self-awareness, you run the risk of calling dysfunction normal simply because it's familiar. We attract what we believe we deserve. If you believe you are worthy of respect, you will not settle for relationships that diminish you. If you believe you are worthy of honesty, you will not entertain lies disguised as love. If you believe you are worthy of joy, you will not make homes in places that only offer survival. The boundaries you set with yourself, the standards you uphold in your own private life, become the silent invitation or warning sign for every relationship you step into. Sometimes the most painful relationships are not the ones that just happen to us, but the ones that mirror the brokenness we refuse to address in ourselves. That is not to say we are responsible for others' bad behavior, but it is to say that healing within changes what we tolerate, what we expect, and what we allow. When you heal the relationship you have with yourself, you will find that some connections naturally fall away. They have to. They were rooted in the version of you who didn't know your worth yet. Having a healthy relationship with yourself also gives you room to love others without losing yourself. You no longer need people to complete you, validate you, or save you. You can enjoy connection without codependency. You can offer love without becoming addicted to approval. You can say yes from a place of freedom and a no from a place of courage. The blueprint you build inside yourself teaches you that love should never require the abandonment of your soul. The truth is, you are the first and longest relationship you will ever have. People may come and go. Seasons will change. Circumstances will shift. But you are the one person you cannot escape. You wake up with yourself. You fall asleep with yourself. You live inside your own mind and heart every day of your life. To neglect that relationship is to neglect the foundation on which all other relationships are built. Strengthen it, nurture it, cherish it, because everything else stands upon it. The deeper your relationship with yourself, the more clearly you will see the relationships around you. You will spot red flags sooner. You will appreciate green flags more deeply. You will no longer confuse chaos for passion, or manipulation for affection, or manipulation for affection. You will have a clear standard because you will have first loved yourself well enough to know the difference. Your external world will always, eventually, reflect the health of your internal world, and you hold the power to set that foundation in love. Every day in the small choices you make about yourself, you are silently teaching the world how to treat you. The way you prioritize your own needs, the way you protect your peace, the way you honor your own voice, all of it speaks louder than anything you could ever say with words. Choosing yourself is not a one-time event. It's a daily practice, a daily declaration that says, I am worth showing up for. Even if I'm the only one who sees it right now. Choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's foundational. When you consistently choose your well-being, your boundaries, your mental health, you send a clear message to others. I will not abandon me, and I will not allow you to either. People learn from your actions whether you are someone who can be disregarded or someone who demands to be respected. Timiapai. Not through confrontation, not through force, but simply by the steady way you treat yourself with dignity every single day. The truth is, people treat you according to the level of respect you require, not with your demands, but with your example. If you constantly put yourself last, overextend beyond your limits, and say yes when your heart is screaming a no, you teach others that your needs are negotiable. You teach others that you are available for their convenience, but unavailable for your own calling. Every time you betray yourself to keep the peace, you train the world to expect your silence instead of your strength. Choosing yourself daily looks like protecting your time, even when others don't understand. It looks like saying, I'm unavailable for anything that costs me my peace. It looks like pausing to rest when your body is tired instead of pushing yourself to meet other people's deadlines. It looks like advocating for your dreams, even when the world wants you to settle for safe, small, and silent. The more you honor yourself, the more you shift the atmosphere around you, attracting relationships and opportunities that match your self-respect. There is a cost to choosing yourself, and often the first cost is discomfort. Some people are invested in your lack of boundaries because it benefits them. Some will be upset when you stop making yourself so easily accessible, so endlessly accommodating, and that's okay. Every no you give to what drains you is a yes to what sustains you. Choosing yourself will not always feel good in the moment, but it will build a life that feels whole, authentic, and aligned in the long run. You are teaching people every day, whether you realize it or not. You're teaching them whether they can interrupt your peace without consequence. You're teaching them whether they can take without giving, demand without honoring, use without cherishing. And you're also teaching them whether love, respect, and reciprocity are non-negotiable standards in your life. Every time you choose yourself, you are writing a new curriculum for how you expect to be treated, and the ones who are meant to walk with you will study it well. Choosing yourself daily also builds your inner confidence. You start to trust that you will not leave you. You stop waiting for someone else to save you, validate you, or finally see you. You realize you are capable of standing up for your own needs, your own dreams, your own heart. And from that place of inner strength, you create healthier dynamics with everyone around you, because you are no longer entering relationships from a place of lack, but from a place of fullness. In the end, every small moment you choose yourself adds up to a life where you are no longer a background character in your own story. You stop waiting for permission to live. You stop negotiating with your worth. You stop settling for half love, half effort, half peace. Choosing yourself daily is how you set the stage for a life where you are not just surviving under the weight of others' expectations. You are thriving in the light of your own authenticity. Silence often gets mistaken for emptiness. We live in a world that fills every gap with noise. Music, conversations, notifications, opinions, so much so that when silence comes, it feels foreign, even uncomfortable. But silence is not a void to be feared. It's a sacred classroom where the soul becomes the sacred classroom where the soul becomes the student again. In the stillness, we aren't doing, proving, or performing. We are simply being. And it is in that being that we relearn who we truly are beneath all the layers the world has piled on us. When life is loud, it's easy to lose pieces of yourself without even realizing it. You start living for applause, adapting to expectations, chasing after validation that was never meant to sustain you. Over time, you can forget your own voice because it gets drowned out by the opinions and demands of others. Silence offers you a return to the quiet knowing that was inside you before the world taught you to doubt it. A return to the original dreams, desires, and truths that belong to you and you alone. Silence reveals what noise tries to hide. In the quiet, you can hear your own pain without distraction. You can acknowledge your real fears without sugarcoating them. You can sit with the longings you've buried and the wounds you've ignored. It's not always easy. Sometimes silence feels heavy because it brings up everything you've tried to outrun. But healing cannot happen if we are always sprinting. Silence slows us down, not to punish us, but to invite us into a deeper kind of restoration. Relearning yourself in silence means asking questions you're often too busy to consider. What do I actually want, apart from what's expected of me? Who am I becoming when no one else is watching? What parts of me have I abandoned just to survive? Silence makes room for the unfiltered answers, the ones that don't fit neatly into an Instagram caption or a polished narrative. It asks for honesty, it asks for courage, and it offers a mirror, not to shame you, but to help you truly see yourself again. The most profound revelations often happen, not when we're striving to achieve them, but when we're still enough to receive them. Silence doesn't demand that you fix yourself, it invites you to face yourself with tenderness. It reminds you that you are not your mistakes, not your missed opportunities, not your moments of weakness. Beneath all of that is a soul still worthy, still called, still capable of becoming something beautiful. Silence whispers what the noise tries to make you forget. You are still enough. Many people fear silence because they associate it with loneliness, but there is a difference between being alone and being abandoned. Silence is not evidence of abandonment. It is an invitation to intimacy with God, with yourself, and with the truth that runs deeper than your circumstances. In the silence, you can start to hear divine affirmations that do not depend on public applause. You can start to build a foundation that storms cannot shake, because it is rooted in something eternal and unchanging. Relearning yourself doesn't mean reinventing who you are to fit someone else's mold. It means returning to the core of who you were always meant to be. It means shedding the expectations, the labels, the false identities that life tried to stitch onto you. In silence, you can begin the sacred work of unbecoming everything you were never supposed to be, so you can finally live as your truest self, whole, healed, and at home within your own soul. Silence may feel uncomfortable at first, but discomfort is often the birthplace of transformation. Stay in the stillness long enough, and you will start to recognize the voice inside you that has been waiting to be heard. It's not the voice of fear, not the voice of shame, but the voice of truth. The voice that reminds you that even in the absence of noise, you are full of purpose, full of potential, full of life. In silence, you don't lose yourself. You finally find yourself.